Hi, I'm Justyn Bell, a filmmaker and documentarian. I've always been fascinated with stories of the American West, and a few years ago, I came across a portrait photographer named Edward Curtis. Since then, I've always been highly inspired by his work. Edward was a visionary and complicated man full of adventure, obsession, controversy, and charisma. In 1900, he began what would become one of the most important photographic achievements in the history of the world. With only a sixth grade education, Curtis embarked on a 30-year journey to document the quickly vanishing native tribes and their traditional ways of living, shortly before they were overtaken by the government, white society, and Christian missionaries. Curtis would later go on to lose his family, his home, and most importantly, his life's work, which largely went unnoticed before he died. Right now we're on sacred land in the Black Hills of South Dakota, a place Edward would visit along his many travels. He would eventually take close to 50,000 glass plate negatives, document over 70 tribes, 10,000 wax cylinder audio recordings, and create 20 volumes of text. I hope through this film, his work, and the many lives of the people that he photographed, they resonate with you in the same way his legacy speaks to me, with love, respect, and humanity. Thank you.
The story of Edward Sheriff Curtis begins with an older Suquamish woman named Angeline. She's digging for clamshells along the Seattle shorelines. While doing so, she catches the eye of a successful young portrait photographer named Edward Curtis. Curtis held a sixth grade education, but had endless energy, enormous talent, and a desire to photograph something more meaningful with his life. This is when he stumbled across Angeline. She was well known across the city as Princess Angeline, the daughter of Chief Seattle, after which the city was named. In that moment of witnessing this old, frail woman digging for shells, Curtis saw something. He saw a frozen image of a vanishing race and a lost time. He sensed the value of a diminishing world that would soon be gone forever.
The passing of every old man or woman means the passing of some tradition, some knowledge of sacred rites possessed by no other. Consequently, the information that is to be gathered for the benefit of future generations, respecting the mode of life of one of the great races of mankind, must be collected at once, or the opportunity will be lost for all time.
Princess Angeline reluctantly had her portrait taken after Curtis had paid her a single dollar for the sitting. To Curtis, this meant the beginning of the largest, most comprehensive, and ambitious photographic odyssey in American history. His dream was to create a series of 20 volumes of text and photographs. He would call it The North American Indian. In 1899, during his first expedition, Curtis witnessed the illegal Sundance for the first time. For this dance alone, including a number of ceremonies, you risk being thrown in jail. It was highly illegal for American Indians to use their own languages or practice their own religions. Edward also sees his first snake dance and comes to an overwhelming realization. He realizes the long misconception of the American Indian existing without religion is not true.
Rather than being without a religion, every act of his life was according to divine prompting.
This feeling prompted a certain calling inside of Curtis. It gave him an ambitious dream to frantically document every tribe on American soil and their traditional ways of living before they vanished into history forever. In 1904, Curtis traveled to Arizona and photographed the Indians of the Navajo Nation. Here he also films the Yebache dance. A healing ceremony which lasts for 9 days. Over the course of his various expeditions, Curtis involved himself with dozens of tribal-related societies. One tribe in which he grew particularly close was the Hopi Nation. There, he would become involved throughout the years with the Hopi Snake Society. He asks the snake priest to make Curtis himself a priest, but the elder snake priest declines. Snake society practices were also illegal at the time. But Edward continued to push forward no matter what the cost. He was forced to participate in a snake hunt and was made to hypnotize the snakes before observing the sacred ritual. After 4 years of traveling, his first volume of The North American Indian was released. (1905). Curtis visits the site of the Battle of Little Bighorn in Montana, a vicious battle between the U.S. 7th Cavalry and over 10,000 Sioux and Cheyenne tribesmen. This battle took place because the tribes had refused to cooperate with the U.S. and their forced relocation onto reservations. All of this occurred because of broken treaties and betrayal by the U.S. after its discovery of gold on native land. And although on this day Custer was warned his troops would be vastly outnumbered, he foolishly ignored the advice and pushed forward into battle. His cavalry was completely crushed, and it was a victory for both tribes. In the U.S., a myth was later created that Custer fought valiantly and that he was a hero. Here, Curtis investigates, then dispels the myth of General Custer as the battle's hero. And this creates controversy. Edward writes his own account after talking with native witnesses for Volume 3 of The North American Indian, gathering that Custer could have saved a greater number of lost lives.
I'm beginning to believe that nothing is so uncertain as facts.
Over the course of the next decade, Curtis would frantically travel from place to place, documenting over 70 tribes all across North America, all the way from the Mexican border to northern Alaska. His energy was endless, and he never stopped working, even at the cost of his own family, because he was never home. The project completely consumed him. And he would often live day to day with little money. Selling his volumes back home was almost, at times, an impossible task. However, he was always on the move. He oftentimes would arrive at locations too late, finding certain tribes had already vanished. But the obsession never stopped. He knew he had something, and that time was slipping quickly. entire span of 30 long, obsessive, and grueling years. Curtis, in total, had taken close to 50,000 glass plate negatives and thousands of wax cylinder audio recordings. He never gave up on his dream. But eventually all his work caught up to him, and it was finally enough for his wife, Clara. In 1916, Clara, his wife, filed for divorce. Curtis lost everything. His home, his marriage, his children, and all of his life's work were handed over in the divorce. In 1920, he moved his studio to Los Angeles and began working as a camera operator in Hollywood to finish funding the struggling project. Curtis moved on to filmmaking and began his directorial debut in his first motion picture, In the Land of the Headhunters. The first known film with an entirely indigenous cast. However, people had lost interest in the subject of American Indians. In 1927, Edward took his last field trip to Alaska. There, he photographed numerous Inuit locals. It was here, on his last voyage, that Curtis finally discovered tribes of people who were smiling, happy, and untouched by white society. Something he had never seen before in all his travels. Finally, in 1930, Edward Sheriff Curtis completes The North American Indian and releases its 20th and final volume.
I devoted 33 years to gathering text, material, and pictures. I did this as a contribution, without salary, direct or indirect financial returns. When I was done with the last volume, I did not possess enough money to buy a ham sandwich. Yet the books will remain the outstanding story of the Indian.
At the age of 62, his life's work conclusively comes to an end. Edward Curtis was finished.
In 1952, Edward Sheriff Curtis died of a heart attack at the age of 84. At this point in time, he was largely unknown to the world. It wasn't until 1972 when his life's work was rediscovered in the basement of a Boston bookstore. Since then, Edward's work has been placed in the Smithsonian and is widely regarded by some as the premier ethnologist and photographer of the last traditionally living Indigenous tribes. Inspired by his work, the crew and I have decided to follow in his footsteps and take photographs of our own travels and our own story here in the Black Hills. I had been wanting to do this project for years, and I hope through telling Edward's story, you are now aware of his importance in capturing something which has long vanished in today's world. Because Edward's work was never about him. It was always about the people he photographed, a way of life, respect for the earth, your human family, and community, and also your freedom of spiritual expression. He was called the Shadow Catcher by the tribes who knew him best, and I think to sum up his life, in the end, he himself became a shadow as well. Thank you again for watching.
Chante waste hoxila lagi estima Hanshe beke waste weyoye Chante waste hoxila